What drives me crazy is not that people invest. It is the order in which they invest. I watch people throw money into the stock market while carrying credit card debt at 20+%. I watch them debate ETFs, crypto, options, and hot stocks while they have no emergency fund, no real cash buffer, and no plan for what happens when life does what life always does. It is like watching a man install polished marble countertops in a house with a cracked foundation and a leaking roof, then act surprised when the whole thing starts rotting from underneath. Money is not just about what you buy, it is about when you do each thing. Sequence matters in investing. Sequence often matters more than brilliance. Most people want to skip to the exciting part. They want to know the best stock, the best fund, the best return, the clever hack, the fast track, the secret nobody else knows. But wealth is usually not destroyed by a lack of secret knowledge. It is destroyed by bad ordering. Doing the right thing in the wrong order can be nearly as expensive as doing the wrong thing altogether. That is why I think of personal finance as construction. Before you ask how tall the building can be, you ask whether the ground can hold it. The first brick is not the brokerage account. It is stability. If you do not have cash for ordinary shocks, then every market investment you make is living on borrowed calm. One bad car repair, one medical bill, one job disruption, one urgent flight, one broken appliance, one stupid surprise, and suddenly your portfolio is not a wealth building machine anymore. It becomes an emergency piggy bank. You sell at the wrong time, or worse. You do not sell and instead swipe a credit card at rates so high that your investing becomes financial theater. That is the role of the emergency fund. People treat it as if it were dead money. I treat it as psychological armor. Cash reserves do not make you rich directly. They make it possible for the rest of your strategy to survive contact with reality. Without that buffer, every unexpected expense becomes a chance to destroy future compounding with it. You can let the long-term assets remain long-term. I would not obsess over perfection here. I would obsess over progression. Get the first $1,000, then get 1 month of real living expenses, then keep building toward the point where a genuine disruption does not instantly put you into panic. 3 months is good for many. Some people need more. The exact number depends on job stability, family obligations, health, and how easily your income can be replaced. But the principle is fixed. Stability first. Once that foundation exists, the next move is not sexy, and that is exactly why it works. Destroy the high-interest debt. Not all debt is equal. I do not confuse a low fixed mortgage with a credit card balance. They are not cousins. They are not even the same species. High-interest consumer debt is not just a burden. It is negative compounding. Every month it sits there, it grows with more confidence than most investments ever will. People tell me they want to invest for 10% while they are paying 22%. That is not investing. That is trying to fill a bucket with giant holes in the bottom. Paying off that debt is not missing out on investing. It is earning a guaranteed return equal to the interest rate you are no longer paying. Find me a legal guaranteed 22% return, and I will show you something very rare. Most people already have one. It is called paying off the card balance before they start pretending to be portfolio managers. Now, there is one important exception: employer match. If your company offers matching contributions to your retirement account, you take the match. I do not care how boring it sounds. I do not care that it does not create a dramatic story at dinner. It is free money, and free money comes before nearly everything else. If your employer says they will match a portion of what you contribute, that is an immediate return no ordinary investment can compete with. You put in $1 and they add more. That is not finance, that is a gift-wearing paperwork. So I would do this with full clarity, build the starter emergency fund, contribute enough to get every cent of employer match, then attack the high-interest debt with everything else. That is the right order, because the match is simply too good to ignore, while the debt is too destructive to leave untouched once the free money is captured. After that, the game moves into a new zone: tax efficiency. This is where ordinary people quietly hand over fortunes to the government, simply because nobody taught them the order. They go into taxable investing too early, or they dump everything into the employer plan because it feels automatic, or they ignore the most flexible and powerful account options because the acronyms look annoying. I do not like paying unnecessary taxes. You should not like it either. That is why, once the emergency buffer exists, the bad debt is gone and the match is captured. I would normally turn next to the IRA. Why the IRA before stuffing more into the employer plan beyond the match control? In an IRA, you usually get a wider investment universe, cleaner access to low-cost index funds and ETFs, and fewer of the expensive mediocre committee. Approved products that infest many workplace plans. Fees look small until you let them run for decades. Then they become one of the largest invisible transfers of wealth in your life. A fraction here, a percentage there, and over time the termites do what termites do. So I would use the IRA as my next engine. And then comes one of the most underappreciated vehicles in American finance, the HSA. If you qualify for one, you should study it carefully because it may be the most powerful account most people are barely using. It gives you a tax deduction on the way in. The money grows without annual tax drag while invested. And if used for qualified medical expenses, it can come out tax-free. That is a remarkable structure. Most accounts give you one tax advantage. The HSA can give you three. That is why I do not think of it as a checking account for copays. I think of it as a stealth retirement and medical war chest. If you can afford to pay current medical expenses out of pocket and let the HSA stay invested, the thing becomes a very beautiful machine. Health costs in retirement are not a maybe, they are a near certainty. Building a pool of tax-efficient money specifically for that part of life is not fancy. It is intelligent. After that, I would return to the 401k or equivalent plan and begin filling it further. At this stage, you have done something most people never do. You have created order. And order is underrated. The emergency fund protects your investments from life. The debt payoff stops interest from sabotaging you. The employer match gives you immediate leverage. The IRA improves control and cost efficiency. The HSA creates rare tax power, and the expanded workplace retirement contributions let you shelter more capital from current taxation while the pile gets larger. Only after those layers are built do I get excited about taxable investing. Notice the word after. Most people want to start there because it feels like the real market stocks. ETFs, individual ideas, flexibility, no contribution limits, the whole candy store. And yes, taxable accounts matter. They matter for building wealth beyond retirement caps. They matter if you want access before traditional retirement age. They matter for house goals, flexibility, and legacy planning. But the taxable account is not where disciplined people begin unless the earlier buckets are already filled properly, because the taxable account has drag. Every dividend can have tax consequences. Every gain realized can have tax consequences. Every year, the government can quietly shave some of what could have compounded uninterrupted elsewhere. That does not make taxable investing bad. It makes it later. That is the theme of this whole subject. Not what is good or bad, what is earlier and what is later. Finance becomes much easier when you stop asking, what should I buy? And start asking, what should come next? That is a more adult question. It is also why I laugh when people get obsessed with the final bucket too early. They want to debate Bitcoin options, single stock, small cap value, thematic ETFs, private deals, and the latest internet obsession while the earlier steps are still undone. That is like arguing over paint color while the concrete is still wet. I am not against individual stocks. I am not against speculation in the strict sense. When the position size is honest, I am not even against risk if the foundation can carry it. But I am against pretending the roof matters more than the frame, and that is what most people do. There is another reason this sequence matters so much: behavior. The right order simplifies behavior because each step removes a major source of self-sabotage. Cash reserves reduce panic. Eliminating bad debt reduces shame and financial drag. Employer match creates obvious wins. Tax-advantaged accounts build momentum. By the time you get to taxable investing, you are operating from strength instead of desperation. That changes the quality of every decision you make afterward. A man investing from stability makes different choices than a man investing while one emergency, one late payment, or one surprise expense away from chaos. This is why I think good financial planning is less about intelligence than about friction removal. Remove the expensive frictions first, then let compounding work in peace. Most people will never max every account available to them. That is fine. You do not need perfection to benefit from good order, you just need sequence. Do step 1 before step 5, do step 2 before step 6. Do not leave free money on the table. Do not pay the IRS early when you could delay or avoid it lawfully. Do not carry consumer debt while pretending you are building wealth. Do not invest money you may need next month into assets that require years. Do not build the top floor before the basement is sealed. Once you see the system this way, everything gets calmer: emergency fund, employer match, kill the high interest debt, IRA, HSA if you qualify, more retirement plan contributions. Then taxable investing, if you want a life beyond ordinary financial anxiety. Boring order beats exciting chaos almost every time. That is the real secret. Not a stock, not a hack, not a guru, just the right move at the right time in the right order. Do that long enough. And you do not merely invest better, you live lighter, because every dollar finally has a job. And every job is being assigned in the order that makes the whole machine stronger instead of noisier.